Welcome back. I just got back from the Great Ohio Toy Show, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I picked up there. Not much in the way of stories around the trip, but I'll talk a little bit about the journey there as well. I started off actually from Boone, North Carolina, where my nephew's in college, and went to visit there first. And so on the drive up to the Great Ohio Toy Show from North Carolina, stopped in the Charleston area at a couple of comic book stores and antique malls. None great enough to necessarily go back to Charleston just for that, but I will say the place where I did buy a couple things that I'm about to show you, it was called Third Floor Comics. It's above an antique mall. It's a good old school comic book store. Lots and lots of back issues. One cool thing that was not for sale there was that the owner had gotten almost like somebody had taken all the old Marvel value stamps, cut them out, and mounted them on a poster board. It looked really cool. Not for sale. In the antique mall downstairs, I don't know if they were all owned by the same folks, but either way, there were a few comic book boxes downstairs. I picked up the 4-part series Indiana Jones and the Iron Phoenix. I bought these mainly because we had some Indiana Jones miniseries in a collection we bought recently, and I was surprised by how much they go for. So this series in particular, even though these were each $5 each, still worth it to buy to resell, and I think they actually gave me a discount, made it $15. The person I was with bought something else down there, so I think they bundled it all together. But very cool store. If you're in Charleston, I would definitely recommend it. Not necessarily a destination to go just for that. So then we pedaled on up to the Great Ohio Toy Show. This is my 3rd time there. It was their 10th anniversary. It's a great time, very, very enjoyable. I will say there were a few dealers there this time that I was expecting who were not there. So I paid the $10 for the early bird, and that's at 8 o'clock, and posted up in line in front of the building where there had been a dealer the last 2 times I was there who had lots of really good $1 comics and some other superhero related stuff. So I was kind of hoping to hit him real early and maybe buy a bunch of comic books. He wasn't there. So I just went into shopping for myself mode, and let me tell you a few things that I got. So I'll be honest, I did a first pass of all the buildings having only bought one thing, and it was this. So this is a 2-pack of pens, which is something I tend to collect. I love these old school pens. And this is the Hulk and Silver Surfer. I had actually seen this 2-pack of pens in a walkthrough video somebody was doing, I think of the room sales in Chicago last year. And literally I'm not sure if you can see it if I move, but right here is a display box of the old pens with, DC and Marvel heroes on them: Captain America, Spider-Man, Hulk, Spider-Woman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Robin, Superman. So I'd seen the Hulk. At some point a couple years ago, I found another 2-pack that had the Thing in it. In fact, I might just quickly jump over there and grab that for demonstration purposes. So again, I had not known. Oh no, this is a Spider-Woman, Spider-Man 2-pack, similar dynamic. Oh, there it is. So, with my back to the camera and off camera, I had found at a show or a store, I think, a few years ago, Thing Captain America, which I had never seen before. So I guess every now and then they're gonna surprise me with a character that I didn't know they made in these pens. And in this particular case, it was Silver Surfer. So anyway, I'd seen that in this walkthrough video, never seen it before, wasn't sure I'd ever see it in person. Had a little bit of, FOMO of not being at that Chicago Toy Show walkthrough. But there it was in a dealer case in the 2nd or 3rd building I went to at the Great Ohio Toy Show. So didn't hesitate to pick this up because I knew it was definitely something I wanted. Everything else I saw, I was kind of on the fence about. Either it wasn't something I was super excited about, even though I could make a justification for buying it, or it was a little bit more than I wanted to pay. So I went through all 7 or 8 buildings and then came back around and said, okay, now it's time to go back through to a couple of the places where there were some maybes. And, I feel pretty good about having bought a few things and spent a little bit of money. Yeah, just felt like the not snapping stuff up right away, but thinking about it, taking a risk that it would be gone when I went back. I don't think there was anything that I had my eyes on that wasn't there. There were a couple things that I forgot to look back at, but you know, if I forgot, that means I didn't really want it. So the next thing that I purchased, I'm just going to go in chronological order here. The next thing that I purchased was these two pencil cases. So school supplies seems to be a theme for this one. So I have a couple of old DC related pencil cases. One that I think was my dad's, believe it or not, even though he wasn't into superheroes at all or comics. I just thought these were really cool. I love the way that the graphics pop. To be honest, weirdly, if there weren't two like Hulks and two Spider-Mans on these, I might not have been as excited. The little lunch money pouch I think is really cool. Actually, three. I'm sorry, there's three Spider-Mans and then just the logo for the Hulk. So I love the lunch money piece. In some ways, I think it would have been adorable if somebody's name was actually still written in there. But anyway, these were a little bit more than I wanted to pay. I negotiated a little. It still was a little bit more. I think I paid like 30 or 35, maybe something like that per. So again, I would have been happy at 20 or 25, but they were priced a little bit higher than that. So I still thought, you know, I've literally never seen these before. Didn't even bother looking them up on eBay to see what they, you know, if I could find some or what they would go for. Just thought they were cool enough. And I like being in the spirit of being at a toy show and just kind of picking stuff up. So that was the next thing that I bought. And then the final purchase, I literally only bought from three vendors at the show. There's a vendor there, I don't remember his name. I see him at all these shows and he has amazing vintage Marvel stuff, often some stuff I'm kind of interested in. The price is always higher than I really want to pay for it, or it's not stuff that I really love, but if it was cheap, I'd buy it just because it looks kind of cool. So, you know, I kind of saved his building for last because I thought, yeah, you know, like I like looking at his stuff, but I'm not going to buy anything. And, you know, obviously it's a whole nother building. There's other vendors there, but I picked that building for last. And lo and behold, when I went to his booth, he had a few things that I decided I really wanted. And again, paid up a little bit for some of them, or for one piece in particular, but feel okay about it. So I'll start with the first thing that grabbed my attention is this plastic figure. And I'm going to try and get it so it's not as much backlit. Maybe if I block the light a little bit more. So this is similar to the Mark's Marvel figures. It's clearly not one that they made. I don't know if it's a bootleg that got made as Black Bolt, who this character obviously is, or if somebody somehow modified it. But it looks, you know, molded. And I don't know enough about all the different kinds of like molded figures, hard plastic figures like this that were made to know if there was something similar enough, like if they did a Falcon in this scale. I don't have one. I have one that's similar to this, but it's more like about, you know, this high. So I don't know if somebody modified a Falcon, but again, it looks like the antenna is not glued on. It's pretty solid. The paint job is pretty crappy, either hand done or very faded. I loved it. He said it was $20, so I was in on this from the beginning. This was always going to come home with me. But after looking at his booth for a bit, I actually did a lap back to the other buildings first and bought these couple things I just showed you before going back and making the purchase here. So again, I left it with a possibility. You know, I didn't go in thinking, oh, I need a old Mark's style hard plastic non-posable Black Bolt figure, but I thought it was cool enough to grab it. The next thing I bought was something, and this is gonna, some of you are gonna look at this and think I'm insane. Some of you are gonna think it's the coolest thing you've ever seen. I'm in the latter camp. This bootleg, I believe it's Argentinian She-Hulk figure. Now, I don't really know how it is. I think he like shrink wrapped it. I don't necessarily wanna, I'm gonna open it from the shrink wrap at some point. Maybe I should do that now so you can get a better view without the glare. But one thing that I think is just amazing as you get closer to this, you'll notice that none of these characters have faces. So in the card art, you've got Hulk with just a blank face. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and... I thought this was just like a sleeve. I didn't realize it was shrink wrapped. If I had done that, if I'd realized that, I would have, you know, opened it up before starting this video. So I guess we'll call this an unboxing, even though you can see it the whole time. And I'm going to try and find some scissors so I don't accidentally rip the packaging. So at any rate, I had seen some similar bendable bootlegs on a slightly different card art, and he had one of those as well. He had a Thor, and I really almost bought both of them, but they were a little pricey, and I decided one at a time was fine. I'm eyeballing somebody on eBay who's got them at about the same price he does, but he had a few, so I'm hoping the person on eBay, perhaps I'll be able to negotiate to get a slightly lower price if I buy more. So I decided to pass on the Thor. This, I'm going to keep it a little bit tilted because honestly, the bubble, if you can even call it that, feels like saran wrap almost. But I love everything about this figure, from like how bootleggy the She-Hulk is. Again, no face. Well, there is a face on her, but yeah, just so bad. And then again, in the card art, no faces on the characters. So Cap, Spider-Man, Spider-Woman look a little better because, you know, their masks give part of their face, but She-Hulk, Thor, Hulk, just blank-faced. So I love this. I think I paid around $150 for it, which again, I know some people are going to think I'm absolutely nuts. Other people are going to think I got a steal. The Thor was a little bit more expensive, and like I said, I had sort of my eye on some on eBay that I might see if I can get a little bit cheaper. I just love it. Really, like legitimately. And the thing that bummed me out a little bit, because when I was trying to negotiate on prices with him, I was trying to do a package deal for this, her, and the Thor. And, you know, he basically said he didn't have a lot of wiggle room on the Thor. But then he said, you know, at the beginning of the day, he had a bunch of them, and some guy apparently came and spent like $2,500 buying a bunch of them. So that was a real bummer to me to find out that there were a lot more of these on the show floor earlier in the day. As a general rule, I follow a lot of toy YouTubers, so I will be looking to see if any videos cover this. I don't think it would be anybody who bought it, but maybe they did a walkthrough and saw them, and I'll at least see what I missed out on. So then as I was leaving, I thought about picking up one more thing that is just not something I really personally want to collect necessarily, but I thought looked cool. Oh, I'm sorry. I broke my chronological rule. Let me go back in time. I had seen this guy earlier in the day. A Baron Zemo Secret Wars figure. I have this one already, but I don't have one with the belt. He was $16. Or that's what they were asking for it. And at the beginning of the day, I was like, you know, I got the figure already. I'd love to get the belt, but I don't need the belt. So I decided, and I went back to him at the end of the day, and it was still there. Asked him if he'd take $10 for it. He very agreeably took $10. I suspect if I'd done that at the beginning of the day, he also would have taken $10. So I took a gamble. But at any rate, I've got a replacement Baron Zemo with a belt. So I'll just throw my current Baron Zemo in our stock for shows. The reason I'm mentioning this, or the reason it caught my attention right now, is I did some post-show buying at a couple stores, and some have a Secret Wars theme. So I'll get back to that in a minute, but let me go back then to the thing that I bought, but for weird reasons. And it is a Batman bendy hero that is listed as a bendable pocket heroes. Now, this is not any other way branded by the Mego company, although I don't know if it's a Mego bendy, because I believe they did some bendy figures. And again, I don't think you can quite see it the way I've got this angled. Let me see if I can move this a little bit. In this Halloween bucket Spider-Man there, you can see a few bendy figures up there, and I'm pretty sure the Spider-Man and the Cap in there are Mark's figures. So I think this might actually be, I'm sorry, no. Oh yeah, it might be Mark's as opposed to Mego. Anyway, they're bendy figures. What hooked me into this is if you're a collector of pocket heroes at all, Mego comic action heroes or pocket heroes, again, up there in this shelf, you can see I've got a bunch of them, not quite a complete set yet. Still working on a Green Goblin. But some of them were packaged in what's called a denim package. So like the pocket heroes, you know, because it would go in the jean pocket. And so the fact that these were called pocket heroes and the denim packaging, to get one of those Mego heroes, the 3 3/4 inch plastic ones, in a denim like bubbled card would be several $100s. This the guy said he had 50 on it, but he was willing to do 30. So I snapped that up real quick before I left, just kind of on a lark. It reminded me a bit, and I will display it next to something I bought in Italy, which was a similarly packaged, different package art, but similar. Like this is a Flexi Spider-Man. or in, I'm going to mispronounce it, but l'uomo ragno in Italian. So again, sort of similarly packaged, just in a box that they slide into. So in that sense, it kind of reminded me of that, even though this is clearly a US release, I think. Obviously, some of you may know more about this than I do. If you do, feel free to share the information with me. But at any rate, so thought that was kind of cool and bought it sort of on a lark on my way out the door. So last thing to say then, we stopped, as we usually do, at the Route 68 Toy Mall. For folks who don't know, the Great Ohio Toy Show is in Xenia, Ohio. It's sponsored by Route 68 Toys. They have two storefronts. One is a consignment mall where every case is a different vendor, and then they have their flagship store next 2 doors down. So I went in there, kind of honestly, I was tired from the show. I was ready to get on the road to go back home. Thought maybe I'll even skip it. I was like, just in case, I'll go. And was surprised with what I ended up picking up. I spent not a ton of money, but a little bit more money, because one of the vendors in the consignment mall had these custom Secret Wars figures. So custom Cyclops, custom Human Torch, both Human Torch and Cyclops actually in the Secret Wars miniseries, and then a custom Guardian, and lastly, a custom Black Bolt. So again, a couple themes were school supplies and Black Bolt, apparently. I had seen these online. I had actually bought, again, just sort of pointing to my case behind me, right there is a Secret Wars custom Vision done by, I believe, the same person on a custom card back. They had Mr. Fantastic, a Professor Xavier, and somebody else on custom card backs. The Mr. Fantastic I was tempted by, but these ended up being about $35 each. The Mr. Fantastic would have been about $70. I just didn't feel like I needed it for the card back to pay that extra amount. They also had a Dominic Fortune in this, uncarded, which I was tempted by, just to have no attachment to that character, but I thought it was so random that I almost bought it. There were a couple others that I've seen on either eBay or on this person's website. They did a Hulk. I really would have liked if that had been there. But so I picked these 4 up just because I'd never seen them off card before. I rarely see them at all, and usually they're a little bit more expensive. And even honestly, the 70 or $75 that was on the Mr. Fantastic was pretty cheap relative to what I usually see them go for. The last 2 things I bought at the flagship store, I bought the Silver Surfer. I think this is 1980, maybe late 1970s. Silver Surfer van. I do have a small, Marvel Hot Wheels and Corgi collection, DC Corgi as well. And so I thought this was cool. It was relatively cheap. I picked that up. I didn't have it yet. And then lastly, on the drive home, because even though I thought about not stopping at the Route 68 Toy Mall, still decided to take a slight detour and go to Big Fun in Columbus, which is a store I really like. I like the vibe there quite a bit. I picked up 2 non-superhero related things. These are just little rubber figures. They almost seem like erasers, but they're not, so they don't fit the school supply theme. I am 90% sure I had both of these as a kid, and I think on some level this one in my mind was a stand-in for either Swamp Thing or Man Thing, because again, back in the day there weren't really action figures for comic book characters, so I made do with this. I think one of the last 17 Star Wars figures, the Imperial Gunner or somebody, black helmet and a red visor. That was my stand-in for Cyclops when I was a kid. So I picked these 2 up. This probably stood in for Man-Bat at some point, but these were cheap, like $5 or something. And so I picked these up just because I kind of vaguely remember having them as a kid and think they're kind of cool looking. So that's my haul from the show. Then made our way back home. Like I said, I kind of liked the walk around, pull the trigger only on the stuff that I really, really wanted, and then go back to the stuff that I was on the fence about and see if I could either make a deal or decide for myself that I really wanted it. And I'm just going to say it once again. I love it. Love everything about it. All right. Take care. See y'all soon.